We're on day 201 of Ukraine's resistance. This is Mediacentru Ukraine. My name is Vasil Samokhvalov. We're starting our conversation with Oleh Korikov, acting head of the State Inspector of Nuclear and Radiation Security of Ukraine. Hello, sir. Hello, Slava Ukraini. Heroям Slava. We have a specific question, sir. The Zaporizhia nuclear power plant has brought all of its reactors to a halt. Can you explain to us what this means for the plant and what this means for the energy sector in Ukraine? Well, no one even thought when this plant was built and projected and built that a time would come that it would be that all the 6 energy blocks would be halted, stopped. But this happened. At the same time, the power blocks do have nuclear fuel, and irradiated nuclear fuel that is inside does emit heat, which requires it to be cooled down constantly by water. We put water through electric pumps. We use electric pumps to supply water, and in order for these pumps to work, we need to ensure power at the nuclear power plant, electricity. Usually at a 6-block plant, 1 or 2 energy blocks are working to capacity, and this way they ensure they provide the needs of the energy needs of the power plant, which then feeds these pumps, which pump the water and cool the irradiated nuclear fuel. Correspondingly, this system is tied to Ukraine's power grid, and when none of the blocks of the Zaporizhia power plant is working to capacity, the power that powers this security systems, which cools down the irradiated nuclear fuel, is taken from the energy grid of Ukraine. At the moment, the Zaporizhia power plant is connected to the Ukrainian grid, and so we managed to remove to put the block number 6 into a cold stop. However, from the radiation and nuclear security standpoint, it's very important to have stable for the plant to be connected to the energy grid, so that these security systems are constantly powered by the Ukraine grid. So we need to keep moving. We need to restore other communications with the energy grid, and in this way, we need to ensure security. Unfortunately, this is practically impossible in conditions when the Zaporizhia power plant is occupied by Russian invaders. And we have to be very clear that the only path, the only way to restore a safe use of the Zaporizhia power plant is demilitarization of the plant and of the town of Enerhodar, the deoccupation of the town, the return of the power plant to full control of the Ukrainian authorities, and the continuation of restoring this territory and this functional by Ukrainian professionals. The strikes on the energy systems that we've seen yesterday, should they strike in such a way that the plant doesn't have electricity for a day or two, what are the risks then? Thanks for the question. In case of if there's a full blackout, there are systems in place in the Zaporizhia power plant, such as reserve diesel power plants, in order to produce electricity to feed the needs of the power plant in case there is no power from the energy grid. So these plants come on automatically in case there's a blackout from the grid. However, the amount of diesel fuel is not limitless. We have fuel for, I think, 10 days of work for these diesel plants. Of course, there are mobile diesel plants that we've made during the post-Fukushima events that we were introducing, but these are also not endless. This is limited in time, and it's very difficult to bring additional diesel fuel to the occupied territories to supply these reserve power plants. If it comes to, if for instance, if we look at in case of a blackout, and should we run out of diesel fuel, and if there is no electricity for the plant's own needs, an accident is possible with the damage to the active area, active zone, the melting of nuclear fuel, which potentially might cause a leak of radiation, products of radiation, beyond the hermetic cover, including into the atmosphere, in quantities that, in the worst case scenario, we're talking 10 to the 18th degree. This is this is comparable to Fukushima and Chernobyl, this amount of radiation, and of course this will have trans-border consequences. So we have to do everything necessary, whatever is necessary to stop combat, demilitarize the plant, deoccupy the city, and return it to the control of the Ukrainian authorities. In this way, we will set conditions for the full security of the Zaporizhia power plant. Has anything changed after the visit from the IAEA? For instance, what changes happened in the with the staff that work there? The IAEA mission are continuing to continue its work. The majority of most of the participants of the mission have visited the power plant, and part of the mission were there for a few hours to work there for a few hours. Another part were there for 3 or 4 days. As of now, we have 2 IAEA experts continuing to work at the power plant. We have the report from IAEA. There are recommendations in it which we, of course, support because they really might lead us to restore radioactive and nuclear radiation safety. But unfortunately, all of those guidelines can only be met after demilitarization, deoccupation, and the return of the power plant to the control of the Ukrainian authorities, because they have to do with either with different things that need to be done, actions that need to be done in conditions of and while this power plant is occupied, we can't really influence the situation in terms of any kind of crisis center, or in terms of bringing in diesel fuel, or in terms of the lack of pressure, or the integrity of the components, or the chain of the supply chain to bring in the equipment to continue using the plant safely, or in terms of admitting personnel to renew the line. All of those or we have to get the electricity. All of this is impossible without the cessation of hostilities, deoccupation, demilitarization of the plant. So the IAEA visit on the one hand, gave us a report which makes it clear that we have Russian occupiers there, and all other things that we've uh, that we've already known. And on the other hand, the situation remains difficult. Moreover, for over 3 days, the Zaporizhia power plant was without any sort of power. It wasn't connected to the grid, and it had to produce electricity for its own needs through its own energy blocks. The situation remains extremely dire. Thank you. Understood. And last question: could you tell us when will we restore the work of the nuclear power plant? To what extent is it possible? What risks and pitfalls are we facing in such an event? We believe that the key to a safe use of the Zaporizhia power plant, uh, the key is held by the key step here would be demilitarization and the occupation of the plant. Sorry, no, but I mean, so there are no technical problems in terms of restoring work because we have to restore the power lines which are not functional. That's a lot of work. So that has to steps have to be taken in terms of equipment that is in the Zaporizhia power plant because we can't even assess the level of damage, the specific level of damage that happened due to the shelling of by the Russian invaders. We have to do a lot. There's a lot to be done, which would then allow us to restore the safe, reliable work operation of the Zaporizhia power plant. Thank you. With us was Oleh Korikov, acting chairman of the State Inspector for Nuclear and Radiation Security, discussing the situation on the Zaporizhia nuclear power plant. We will continue our work tomorrow.